artist in painting.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go!
Fernando Amorsolo. Fernando Amorsolo y Cueto was one of the most important artists in the history of painting in the Philippines. Amorsolo was a portraitist and painter of rural Philippine landscapes. He is popularly known for his craftsmanship and mastery in the use of light. The painter Fernando Amorsolo was a dominant figure in the visual arts of the Philippines during the decades before the Second World War and into the post-war period. His oeuvre is characterized by scenes of the Filipino countryside, harmoniously composed and richly colored, saturated with bright sunlight and populated by beautiful, happy people. It is an art of beauty, contentment, peace, and plenty, which perhaps explains its enduring popularity in the Philippines to this day. Planting Rice with Mayon Volcano. Planting Rice with Mayon Volcano, painted in 1949. Here, happy Filipino villagers in their bright clothes and straw hats work together amid the green and sunlight landscape of plenty. Behind them, releasing a peaceful plume of steam, releasing the beautifully symmetrical cone of Mayon stratovolcano. The relationship between the volcano and the surrounding landscape is depicted as a positive, fruitful, and harmonious one. Mayon is a celebrated symbol of the Philippines, and its presence in Amorsolo's painting emphasizes his wish to represent the spirit of nation on canvas. Afternoon Meal of the Rice Workers. Afternoon Meal of the Rice Workers by Fernando Amorsolo is a beautiful piece. It has a good combination of colors, especially the light ones. The story behind this painting is really the one that is really captivating. It shows how people but happy the life of our great farmers, whose simplicity was just so perfect of the scene, such an inspiring and heart-touching piece. Everything looks so perfect and it suits to all Filipinos. Pablo Amorsolo. Pablo Cueto Amorsolo was a Filipino painter and the younger brother of the Philippine national artist Fernando Amorsolo. He became an apprentice painter under the guidance of his uncle Fabian de la Rosa, an expert painter. Amorsolo was an enthusiast of both classical and modern-day forms of art. He became one of the causes for the rise of so-called genre art in the Philippines because he weaved through his artistic brush strokes a wide variety of images that show native and social scenes and scenarios. He was also a known master of portrait paintings who had the ability to give life to any individual subject. He also created works that portray themes related to Philippine history. Manila Bay, giving form to the sea perpetually hurling itself against the tropical shore, was a mesmerizing pursuit for so many early 20th century Filipino artists, and Pablo Amorsolo excels that tradition in this romantically elegiac of melancholy work. Pablo Amorsolo preferred to paint early in the morning or late afternoon, utilizing local color, and the extreme time of the day can be gleaned in the telltale shadow in this bucolic seascape. This seashore scene seems to be a metaphor to a creative life which culminated in a tragic end. Nipa Hat. Pablo Amorsolo paints a general scene of a nipa hat nestled within a verdant background. His experience as an illustrator is apparent in the strong contrast between light and dark and textural and pastel strokes that break up the foreground. When portraits were in vogue during the pre-war years, Amorsolo was one of the best portrait painters. His skilled brushwork called breath life into his subjects, which he painted truthfully and without idealization. He painted subjects from all social classes and age levels. It was in these portraits that he showed his deep understanding of individuals.
Jose Joya was a Filipino painter best known for his abstract expressionist works.
which utilized a variety of techniques, including controlled drifts, impasto strokes, and transparent layering. In creating an artwork, the artist is concretizing his need for communication. The artist has said of his practice, he has an irresistible urge to reach that level of spiritual satisfaction and to project what he is and what he thinks through his work. His work often inspired by the tropical wildlife of his home country. It was painted with bold, vibrant colors. In Hills of Nika, he paints loose, chaotic stroke of burnt orange, yellow, and turquoise, and in Green Mansions, he paints leaf-like shapes in yellow-green. He was born on June 3, 1931 in Manila, Philippines. He attended the University of the Philippines in 1953. He later pursued a graduate degree at the Cranbrook School of Art in Michigan on the Fulbright Smith-Mund Scholarship. After completing his studies, he became a member of the Saturday Group, a weekly meeting of artists working in Manila during which they discussed current artistic trends. Joya showed his works at the Philippine Art Gallery, the Venice Biennale, the Museum of Philippine Art, the National Museum, and the Ayala Museum. Joya died in 1995 in Manila, Philippines. After his death, a retrospective of his work was held at the National Museum in Manila, Philippines in 2011. This is the example of abstract composition of Jose Joya in 1961. This is painting in oil on board. Its size is 7 by 14 inches or 17.8 by 35.6 centimeter. Its movement is abstract expressionism and modern art. Benedicto Cabrera, better known as Ben Cab, is considered the preeminent Filipino painter of his generation. Primarily figurative, Cabrera's work often depicts women and occasionally men wrapped in swirling, bundled fabrics and capes. He was born on April 10, 1942 in Malabon, Philippines, and studied at the University of the Philippines in 1963. He won first prize for his oil painting of a talipapa or market in a student competition and was hired soon after by the national paper as its Sunday illustrator. Cabrera's first exhibition of oil and acrylic paintings was held at the Indigo Gallery in Mabini in 1965 and has since shown work in New York, Los Angeles, Paris, Tokyo, and notably London, where has lived on and off for much of his professional career. In 2006, the Philippine government conferred upon him the Order of National Artist for Visual Arts. These are the examples of the painting of Benedicto Cabrera.
Vicente Silva Manansala was born on January 22, 1910 at San Roque, Macabibi, Pampanga, Philippines Island. He was a Filipino Cubist painter and illustrator. He was a member of the prominent Cruz Manansala, Lupis family clan. He is considered one of the 13 moderns, a group of modernists associated with Victorio Edes. He known for painter and illustrator. Vicente Manansala, a national artist of the Philippines in visual arts. Manansala paintings are the best and were celebrated as the best of the barrio and the city together. Vicente awarded in 1981 in category of painting. Vicente died on August 22, 1981 in Manila, Philippines due to lung cancer. Vicente two famous paintings, Jeepneys and Madonna of the Slums. It was in the 50s that he came out strongly as an artist. So, Jeepneys, this painting shows the daily congestion in the metropolis. It is drawn from a neorealism style in which Manansala uses. The colors used are predominantly shades of yellow. And the Madonna of the Slums is a portrayal of a mother and child from the countryside who became urban shanty residents once in the city. Victorio Candido Adades was born on December 23, 1895 to Hilario and Cecilia Adades. He was a Filipino painter. He led the revolutionary 13 moderns who engaged their classical compatriots in heated debate over the nature and function of art. Victorio was the youngest of 10 children. He grew up in Barrio Bulusan and Dagupan, Pangasinan. He was also an achiever from the very beginning, having won awards in school debates and writing competitions. The significant event that stirred Adades and made him as what he is known now was his encounter with the traveling exhibition from the New York Harmony Hall. Victorio was named a national artist in 1976. Victorio awarded in 1976 in category of painting. Victorio died on March 7, 1985 at the age of 89 in Davao City, Philippines. Victoria's masterpiece, The Builders, was characterized by strong composition and dark colors. So, The Builders is one of the 30 paintings Adades mounted in 1928 solo show, which featured muscular men doing manual labor.
Arturo Luz in 1997. Arturo Luz is a Filipino printmaking, sculpture, designing, and founding member of the modern neo-realist school in the Philippine art. Influenced by modernist painters such as Paul Klee, he has worked in a variety of styles and techniques in varying degrees of abstraction to create playful dramatic figures and forms. He was born on November 20, 1926 in Manila, Republic of the Philippines, and went on to the study at the School of Fine Arts at the University of Santo Tomas in Manila. Famous paintings of Arturo Luz are Cities of the Past, Candle Vendors, Vendedor de Flores, Bagong Taon, and Imaginary Landscapes. J. Elizaldo Navarro is a national artist for visual arts in 1999. J stands for Jeremias. Elizaldo Navarro was born on May 22, 1924 in Antique. He is a versatile artist, being both a proficient painter and sculptor. His devotion to the visual arts spanned 40 years of drawing, printmaking, graphic designing, painting, and sculpting. Navarro's sampler includes his 50s and 60s fiction illustrations for This Week of the Manila Chronicle and the Rutan India Inc. figurative drawings for Lydia Arguela's storybook, Juan Tamat. Three of his major mixed media works are I'm Sorry Jesus, I Can Attend Christmas This Year in 1965, and his homage to Ducci Laurel in 1969 Ateneo Art Gallery Collection, and a flying contraption for Mr. Icarus in 1984 Lopez Museum.
Let's talk about Carlos V. Francisco. National artist for visual art, Carlos Botong Francisco is considered one of the Philippine most distinguished muralists. He created numerous canvases that chronicles the mythical world of the Filipino and his history, often seeking inspiration from tradition, folklore, myths, and legend and custom. He is considered to be the most important wall painter of Philippine history and is famous for his historical paintings. Francisco's work is characterized by flawless scenes of composition, smooth line, and abundant use of color. His major masterpiece is the mural for Bulwagan Katipunan of the Manila City Hall. He was the second Filipino who received the title of National Artist in Painting in 1973. After Fernando Amorsolo, Bodong was responsible for revolutionizing the fine arts landscape of the Philippines. He departed from the prevailing style of the Amorsolo Academic and launched the modernist movement with his fellow founder of modern triumvirates Victorio Edicates and Golo Ocampo. First Mass at Limasawa by Carlos Bodong Francisco. The moral defects for Pedro Valderrama officiating the Mass is an improvised altar in the presence of Ferdinand Magellan, Vegeta, Chronicle of Magellan, Spanish soldier, and the native in Hawi. Metrodome of Rizal. The Metrodome of Rizal mural done in 1960 is one of the best known work of Carlos Bodong V. Francisco, Philippine National Artist for Visual Arts in 1973. Francisco is the best town for his landmark murals depicts some of the Philippine historical events. Let's talk about Federico Aguilar Alquaz. Federico Aguilar Alquaz, who signed his work as Aguilar Alquaz, was an artist of voluminous output. He is known mainly for his gestural painting, is an acrylic and oil, as well as the sketch and ink, watercolor, and pencil. Famous of artwork by Federico Alquaz is first the Tres Marias. Alquaz from famous Tres Marias series were started in the late 1970s. During those years, he used as a model hotel staff and waitress of the different outlets of Manila Hilton. And the immortalized germ of his canvas, Alquaz Tres Marias, genre of beautiful long gown, were always engaged in variety of large black domestic activity.
Abdulmari Imao was born on January 14, 1936 in Siasi, Sulu, Philippine Commonwealth. He was a Filipino sculptor and painter. Imao was named National Artist in the Philippines for Sculpture in 2006. At Tausod Imao is the first Moro to receive the recognition. Aside from being a sculptor, Imao is also a painter, photographer, ceramist, cultural researcher, documentary filmmaker, writer, and a patron of Philippine Muslim art and culture. Abdulmari Imao died on December 16, 2014 at the age of 76 in Marikina, Philippines. One of his famous artwork is Sarimanok. It is a legendary bird that has become a ubiquitous symbol of Maranao art. It is depicted as a fowl with colorful wings and feathered tail, holding a fish on its beak and talons. The head is purposely decorated with scroll, leaf, and spiral motifs. The notable work of Fabian de la Rosa was Women Working in a Rice Field. It symbolizes as the Filipino experience from the fields of labor. Another one is Planting Rice, Young Filipina, and a remembrance of Delia Borges and Marikina Valley.
Сказали,
Saila.